Hello and welcome to Learning Music with Pat. I decided today to bring in this little thing. I say little thing. It was given to me by a friend and she said it's an old instrument. But I have yet to be able to make it work, and it's very unusual. And I don't know if anybody has ever seen anything like this. She insists it's an instrument. I'm going to try to get back to her and see if she has more information on it. It's all hand carved, and in the back of it, there's a crisscross design. Might be a little hard to pick up on television, but it's a crisscross design. And you can see there's a hole on the top, maybe supposed to be for a mouthpiece or something, and it's all hand carved. You can see the blade marks. You won't be able to see that on TV, but it has all kinds of blade marks on it, and it has a little design on the bottom, also a kind of a crosshatch design, and there's another hole. I'll hold it what I think is upside down, and you can see that there is a hole that goes all the way through. There are two holes, one on each side. You could look straight through it. The hole goes all the way through from one side to the other. And there's another set of little holes right here where it's obvious that you would put a cord through it or some kind of a string, because it doesn't attach itself to anything, but you could get a cord through it and wear it around your neck. And I thought, well, she thinks it's an instrument, an ancient instrument. And of course, some of these instruments, and I have ocarinas that are meant to be worn around your neck and played, and they're built that way. And this might be that way too. It's just a very unusual, odd thing. And as I said, she gave it to me as an instrument. She says, I'll never use it, but it might be something that you like. And so I can't make it work because there's no way for me to blow into it and block the holes so that the air will be going in the same direction, and then partially block them so that I can get a tone out of it. It does not play a tone, but maybe it is an instrument. Maybe it's one of those first designs of instruments from antiquity, and but it was unsuccessful. There's no tone holes on it, but you do have various holes on it. Maybe it's something you're supposed to kind of whistle in or something like that. If anybody has any ideas of what it is, I would welcome you to email me at the studio and let me know what you think. Unusual to boot, but she says it's an instrument, so I'm going to try to get back to her. Now, it's interesting because I watched a television show recently where they were doing an excavation of a very ancient civilization somewhere in Asia or Africa, and when they excavated, they found that these people had instruments and they had music. And what they had were simple little musics that a recorder like, and they would, as I watched the television show, probably be about the size of this one. And it would have tone holes. It had a mouthpiece to blow into and the various tone holes. And they said that they were made, those instruments that they found were made of either bamboo or ivory. And they estimated, this is just their estimation, they estimated that it would take about 6 hours to make a bamboo flute like this. This is bamboo. I think it took longer than that. But anyway, they would set about 6 hours for the bamboo, and they're saying it would take probably about 100 days to do the ivory, because the ivory is hard, and they wouldn't have a lot of implements, and they had to be able to go through and make a tube in a part of ivory to be able to get the air to go through. And since it was hard, it would take quite a long time to do that. And yet, they assumed that it played. Now, I don't know if they tried it out or not, but they said the real genius of it is the fact that at that age, in antiquity, they understood music enough to know that they had to have the tone holes and the mouthpiece and all of that. But the real genius is the fact that they had measured it. They could measure it so they knew exactly where to put the holes so you would get a scale out of it. You know, you can't just put holes anywhere. If you don't have the hole in the right position, you're going to either have a half note, you know, a half pitch, or you're going to get something that's really out of pitch. It's not going to be like you can use it for a scale. And also, what's going to happen is you'll be either way sharp or way flat, or you won't get the note at all, is a possibility. I have some instruments that are out of pitch, mildly out of pitch, or a half a step, a quarter of a step out of pitch. And when I hold the holes up to a perfect pitch recorder, sometimes I can see that the size of the hole isn't quite right, or the positioning of the hole isn't quite right. It's usually a little bit above or a little bit below where other recorders have it. Now, recorders are recorders. If you're going to be in the key of C, those holes have to be exactly in line with what they're supposed to be, and usually they are. Usually that's not a problem. So this is what they had. They showed the pictures of it on television. I was fascinated by it. And you can, if you get something that's plain and simple. So I brought in a couple of mine. You can't get any simpler than this. This is a piece of plastic, and there are holes in it, and there's no real block, but of course your mouth is going to act as a block. You blow into it like a Fipple recorder. The plastic is bent. It's not even shaped exactly right, but there is a labium right here, right where my finger is. There is a labium. It's the cheapest thing I've ever seen. And yet it does play. You can get sounds out of it. I don't think you can get any kind of a scale, but there is tone holes for that. And I thought there's a little mark on the back. I thought it would say something. I don't know what it says. You lose it on the last two holes. That's where you lose it. And they're just like 6 holes. I don't know if I can go up. There's really no second octave, but it does play. And I imagine some of the early instruments will like this. You played 3 or 4 notes. And I noticed that even though this is really inexpensive, I noticed that the first 2 or 3 notes are kind of in pitch with each other. You know, it's kind of like a scale. And so the people who did the television show were amazed at how the fact that in some kind of a civilization that's antiquated, that they are able to get the holes right to produce music. So this is the cheapest. Now, you know, the Indian flute, it's the same basic principle. Mouthpiece, you blow in it in this area right here. It will have a block in it. The labium, which is just a little tiny square where I've got my finger right there, that labium is right on the mouthpiece itself. Then you have your series of holes. Now, in this this flute comes from India. It's not a Native American flute. It comes from India. And all of the holes are the same size. Well, your fingers are not the same size, but nonetheless, it is playable. Let's see. You start losing it on the lower ones. I could just barely get the lowest note. Then you just get a squeal. So you can get part of an upper octave, and you can get the lower octave, 3 or 4 notes of it. It's a bamboo instrument. The difficulty with bamboo is the fact that usually when they make instruments like this, the bamboo is not very thick. I mean, they bend it around and they have it in a circle so they can get the tube out of it, but it's not very thick. And when you blow into an instrument, you're blowing warm air into it. It'll take so much of that, and then if it's an inexpensive instrument, which this of course would be, the wood's going to kind of split. And once it splits, you may as well not bother playing it at all, because it's going to continue to split. The more you play it, the more it'll split, to the point where it won't play at all. But this gives you a sense of what the simpler instruments are like. And of course, I have this little guy. I think it's put out by First Note. Oh, it's called the Magic Flute, but I think it's put out by First Note. I could be wrong about that. You lose it at the top of the second octave. Well, I got it. I don't think I want to go higher than that because my ears are already ringing. They're a little bit flat on the lower end. And you know, it actually does quite well. But you notice that the tone holes are different sizes. I don't know if you can pick that up or not. Make sure I got this right. The finger holes are right here. And let me put it out here. I don't know if you can see them. This is an orchid. You do see them. Oh, that's good. And you see this, the holes are of different sizes to accommodate your fingers, which are of different sizes. So it's good in that respect. This is the Pro Piper. And here again, I mean, you might be able to see it better because it's lighter colored. But these tone holes are different sizes to accommodate your finger. Does that work? I've got triple lens glasses on. I can't tell what you see. But you can't get too much on the higher register. Not too good on the high, but on the lower register, it's pretty well pitched for E flat. I've used it for solos before. Somebody said I'd play anything, and I did. I did a whole solo on this instrument, and it's advanced enough so it has places in the back where you put your thumbs, one on the upper part of the instrument right here, and one on the lower part of the instrument. There's actually places, because I can't do it and twist it around for you to see it. But at any rate, that plays, I mean, it doesn't sound the greatest here, but if I were to do a solo in E flat, I could get it to play pretty well. Then so you have all of these simpler instruments, and I really think that this is the way music developed. So going from simple to complex, this is how everything developed. Cars were simple and then they became complex. Instruments were simple and then they became more and more complex as time came by. So I'm going to switch now to the song that we did last week, but I'm going to play it again. And I'm going to play it slowly, and we're going over accidentals again. So we'll work with that, and I want to get into also these higher notes and how to finger them. I don't know if you remember this song, but here I want to mention on the first 4 lines, the tone hole in the back is always covered for all of those notes. If you're fingering it the way that a recorder book will tell you to finger it, your thumb hole will be off on that D, and that's about the only one that the thumb hole in the back comes off. Well, let me play this, and you can maybe recognize it as what I did last week, but we didn't finish with it. Now, normally, this is a good exercise to learn how to count. It's a good exercise to learn how to do your fingerings and how to do accidentals. And this is why I wrote it. When I write exercises, I try to make them like a song, you know, because it's not, I could have you sit all day and say, you know, do this with your fingers. but you're not going to enjoy it at all. It's just something that you're doing because I've asked you to do it. So why not put it in a song? Because you've got your timing, you've got your fingerings, you've got other notes, you've got some kind of rhythm. It just makes things a lot more interesting. So I'm going to go over this quickly. We went over the first part, but that B, B flat, and B natural. Here's my pointer here. B, B flat, B natural. The fingering for the B is going to be here, and the B flat, just put this finger down, and then when you go back to B natural, lift it up again. And then when you want, the next note is going to be a G. You see, you already have that B fingering down, so your instrument is going to be stable. You're holding it on tightly enough, so it's going to be pretty stable. You have your finger, your lower finger, on the bottom of the instrument to help to balance it. The thumb hole is closed, as it is most of the time for the first few lines of this song. And so therefore your balance of the instrument comes from your mouth, your B, or part of the fingerings, and what your thumb in the back. And then you go to the F sharp, which all you need to do is to put this middle finger down, or put these two fingers down. Or doing it the way a recorded book will tell you. Does it make any difference which one you use? No, it's a matter of you're going to be more comfortable with the one that you're used to. And so therefore, I use this finger, which I consider to be an alternate fingering, mainly because of the fact that the saxophones do it that way, the flutes do it that way, and I'm just thoroughly familiar because I play both those instruments. So, and I have seen recorder fingering books where they use this for the lower register, F sharp, and for the higher register, F sharp, so the lower fingering F sharp is a little different than the higher register F sharp. The higher register F sharp is the way I normally do it. The flutes and the saxophones do it. But the lower register would be these two fingers, and not just this one, but add this one to it. Now, does it make any difference? I say it doesn't make any difference as long as the instrument pitches for it. But, you know, this is the way that I think that probably when they write up these books, they figure that this is a more accurate position in terms of tone, in terms of pitch. Then you get to the A sharp, a G sharp, I'm sorry. The correct way from the A down to, instead of playing, if you put the B, A, G, if you have a G, then in order to get the sharp, here's a G. To get the sharp, lift that fourth finger up, put these two fingers down. Well, why not do it this way? I'm just half holding that third note with my fourth finger. There's a tiny bit of difference in the tone, but unless you're in an orchestra where the pitch, every vibration counts and it has to be absolutely perfect, that it may not make a difference to you. If you're playing a solo or if you're playing fast notes, I don't think a lot of people would even notice that there was a slight difference. And then you go to the C. Then you go from the C, see if I am where I am here. C, B, C, A, G sharp, A, F sharp, F natural, F sharp. Well, let's take the F natural, F sharp, natural, and sharp, because those two notes, it's an F sharp because it's in the signature to be an F sharp, so therefore it's not an accidental. When you take and put it sharp or put it natural, then you make an accidental out of it because according to the key signature, it's a sharp. So if you want it natural, that natural note is an accidental. And then the F sharp following it is also an accidental because that note normally as being an accidental would go for the rest of the measure. But it's not because you're going to switch it back. So therefore that natural is and sharp, they both become accidental. So we'll play that F sharp, F natural, F sharp. Here's the way I would do it. F sharp, F natural, F sharp. Now, if it's a Baroque instrument, you notice when I put my both fingers down, it deepens the tone a little. If I don't, and I use just a regular German fingering, it's not quite as deep. It's just a matter of 2 or 3 vibrations. A lot of people might not even notice it. And then let's see where you are here. F sharp, F natural, F sharp, D. A little better and easier, I think, than whatever you're used to, but one is a little bit more difficult than the other. Let's go down. We've only got 2 minutes left, so I only want to mention, I won't have the time, when you get to the E, this is a high E, and then it goes down to a high D. The E you play like a low E, except you take and half hole the thumb hole in the back. And when I put the half hole in the back, I get that octave up, you know? So it's a, and that D is just this finger. That's this finger down. All of the other fingers are up. The fingers I have down here are just up for balance. The tone hole is not covered in the back, so my thumb is up. So and then the E, E with a half hole in the back. The thumb hole is covered for that E, but you half hole it, so part of it is open. And you get that octave for that high E, and then you take everything off except this one finger, and that gets you your high D. Well, I'm going to have to stop because we're out of time. But I'm going to continue to show you these things, these little quirk things with the fingerings, and then I'm bringing in more music, and I'll bring in more instruments as well for you to see. So please join me next time.